This is the Leaders World, and it is your corner where we bring you top notch leadership information, leadership concepts to take your business, to take your coaching, your mentoring, your life, your family one step forward, changing lives one leader at a time. And today we have with us, he's no stranger to us, and we are privileged to have once more Bobby Allen. And who is Bobby? Bobby is the founder and CEO for Legacy Leadership Consulting, Legacy Leadership and Coaching. Legacy Leadership and Coaching. He is an internationally sought after leader. His expertise in international keynote speaking has is touching millions of people around the world, especially through Forbes.com, where he is authoring articles and answering questions. He has served on the President's Advisory Council for the John Maxwell team. He is an author, he is a father, he is a husband to his beautiful bride that he loves talking about. Listen, without much ado, let's welcome to the studio Bobby Allen. You're welcome, sir.
Great. What a privilege to be here today with everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to add value together. What a great opportunity to grow together, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we are so happy to have you again. And we are so glad that you said yes to our invitation. We are so excited over here at Leaders World Institute. Hey, we are going right into it. The emotionally intelligent leader.
Yes.
What is emotional intelligence? What is this whole concept? What is it? What is emotional intelligence?
Yes. You know, the beautiful thing about EQ or IE, emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, is that it's available for everybody for your lifetime, unlike IQ and personality that peaks at 17. In my early years of life and leadership, I was not intentionally aware of EQ, although every human in every organization, business, church, faith community, business community, wherever there are humans and an organization running, they're running on some amount of emotional intelligence. Just a lot of them are not intentional. So they can't leverage it to the full extent. They're not able to add value to people and their business, their company, their teams with intentionality. So they live and lead on accident instead of on purpose. So after I had a couple train wrecks personally and professionally because of my lack of emotional intelligence, I began to have to ask questions. I know leadership. I know how to build a community or an organization in the faith community, the business community. I know how to add value. I know how to sell product. I know how to motivate and inspire. But I'm injuring and wounding people along the way. Pretty soon there became a wake of individuals at times that didn't understand me or that I might have hurt or maybe offended. And I couldn't wrap my head, my heart, my hands around what was the dynamic. And so I began to immerse myself in other coaches coaching me and people adding value to me. And during that process, I bumped into this thing called emotional intelligence. I said, what is that? And I thought, I got to be able to get a hold of this thing because it's critical. It's important. So I read people like, Ruvan Baran and Howard Gardner and John Mayer and Peter Salovey and Daniel Goleman and Travis Bradbury, people I want to give credit to as I've been journeying, multi-health systems, which I partner with. And then I began to just year after year after year, just bask and melt and meditate in this space, read and study. And I began to realize this is the missing link to living your great life and to leading in full potential. It's
So
the next
how
step
would
of
you
growth.
define emotional intelligence for the novice who has no idea, who hasn't read all those books, who hasn't gone through all those courses? For a novice, how would you define emotional intelligence?
I'll give you there. I have several now. Over the years, I've had to say I've got to put this definition on the bottom shelf. I got to put the cookies of emotional intelligence on the bottom shelf because most, even my CEOs and my pastors and my business owners and moms and dads are saying, what's that? So emotional intelligence in a nutshell is being emotionally, relationally aware of who you are and why you think and do and say what you say so that you can add value to yourself and other people. Another definition is it's a set of emotional skills that collectively establish and help you perceive and express yourself, develop and maintain relationships, cope with challenges, use emotional information in an effective and meaningful way. And I realize that since there's almost 8 billion people on the planet, emotional intelligence is actually the next step of growth for humanity, starting with the leadership community, the faith community.
Wow.
It's missing.
Yeah. So what are the 5 core feelings of the EQ? Are there any core feelings of the EQ? What are those 5 core feelings of the EQ? If I want to develop myself in an emotionally intelligent way as a leader, what do I have to focus on?
Well, I'm glad you said that. The key, or all the emotions, can be prized in 5 core feelings. Happiness is one of them. And then sadness and anger and fear and shame. Every day, every human, everywhere on the planet will experience either happiness, sadness, anger, fear, or shame. One of them, 2 of them, or all of them. It depends who you're talking with, what situation you're in, and what time of the day or evening it is. So to be able to say, how do I take these feelings and emotions, all the relationship styles and all the people capital that drips off the walls, anytime I'm in the room with human beings, it's everywhere. I call it feeling the room. Good leaders can lead a room and read a room. Great leaders can feel the room. You have to be able to feel the emotional, relational disposition of humans individually and collectively in the room. However, you got to start with yourself.
Oh,
You got to
wow.
get your own edges.
So that brings me to another question. How do I know if I am an emotionally intelligent leader?
Well, one of the greatest questions I've learned to ask, at least one of the greatest in my opinion, is simply this. And I started with my kids when I started this EQ journey years ago. And I sat down with each one of them individually. And now my daughter's 30. I have a 25-year-old son, a 22-year-old son. In the early days of EQ, I sat down and I said, hey, what does it feel like to be on the other side of me?
Oh.
And you have to, if you want to play, there's 2 rules. You can't defend yourself or explain yourself. You just take notes. Just take notes and say thank you. And boy, I got more than I bargained for.
Wow.
Most of us in our emotional intelligent growth are not aware. It's called self-awareness. And I'll talk about the 4 key skills of EQ soon here. And the first one is self-awareness. Most of us have a next step of growth in self-awareness. We're not aware of why I do what I do when I'm doing it. Why do I think what I'm thinking when I'm thinking it? Why do I say what I say when I'm saying it? Why did I just say that? Oh no, I wish I could take that back. Or why didn't I speak up? Why do I always do that? When I get around certain people, could be a business meeting, could be a Thanksgiving dinner with family, or a certain human walks in the room, I react a certain way. I feel certain things, my body, this is emotional awareness.
Bobby, I like what you said about, okay, you sit down with your close family and you ask them, what does it feel like to be on the other side of me? And you're not to defend or explain. How easy is that?
Well, it's easy, and then you lose your trust change and you lose the opportunity for them to ever want to open up again, because you do a flip-flop. You switch it, you pivot, you shift, and you make it about them. But you got to build trust and credibility so they'll ask again, whether it's a friend, an employee, a spouse, whether it's a colleague. What does it feel like to be on the other side of me? Oftentimes, we're the last one in the room to find out and to discover what everybody else has already known about us.
Wait, so are you saying, Bobby, that like the first step to building that EQ awareness is to have people who are around you who already know who you are, um, be kind enough to tell you what it feels like to be on the other side of you without you defending yourself or trying to explain, and just taking notes and saying thank you to them no matter what they say.
That's right. And
Oh,
at
wow.
another later time, you can follow up. But in that
Yeah,
moment, listen, listen, just don't hear them. Listen. Those who have higher EQ learn to listen, not just hear. I
wow.
call it the default. Most of us have a default, or many of us do, of what I call autobiographically hearing. That means when someone's talking to you, you're thinking what? What is a biography? A book you read about someone else's life. What's an autobiography? A book that you write about your own life. So, autobiographically hearing instead of compassionately listening sounds and looks like this. While Joe's talking, I'm thinking, oh, that reminds me. Oh, I can't wait to say this. Oh, that matter of fact, ooh, that's not true. Why does he think that? I never said that. That's not. See, I'm thinking about me and how it is impacting me. I'm reminded of a story, autobiographically making it about myself. You lose
Instead of
credibility.
letting it remain about them, we turn it to be about us, and that becomes autobiographical listening, which doesn't
Autobiographically hearing.
hearing.
Listening is different. The skill of
Okay.
listening, high EQ, as we grow in our emotional intelligence and our awareness
Mm,
of our own survival strategies, our own
mm,
emotional relational strategies, we slow down. Let me
ooh,
listen to Susan, for Susan, about Susan. This is
mm,
hard work. Hard
mm.
work. Let me listen to Susan, for Susan, about Susan. Make it
Wow.
about her. Go a step further. For a minute, suspend every thought that she has, everything she's saying, and make her 100% right for a moment.
Wow.
Listen to her, for her, about her, and make her right. Listen as if everything she's saying is right. Game
Wow.
changer.
Wow.
Game changer.
Listen as if everything she is saying is right. Take notes, and all you can say is thank you, thank you, thank you. Bobby, this brings me to ask you another question. What are the four skills of EQ? You mentioned earlier about the four skills, and you talked about self awareness. Can you help us go deep? Hey, by the way, if you're watching, I have a big announcement. If you're ready for that announcement, I want to see yes in the comments. Yes, 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 yes. And we're going to follow up with you. Okay. Big announcement coming, and it's us and Bobby. Put yes in the chat if you want to hear it. Bobby's about to tell us about the four skills of EQ. He started with self awareness. Listen, I am here super curious, wanting to know. You want to share this? Please share this with your family and friends. Let's go add value massively. Let's not just keep this to ourselves. This is too good. Yes, Bobby, go ahead, please, sir.
Well, let me ask if I have permission to answer a few key questions. Most of my counseling clients, leadership, speaking, seminars, wherever there are humans, they say, wait a minute, how much of an impact does EQ really have on my personal life or my professional success? Isn't EQ just soft skills, Bobby? And I say, great question, but actually, it's a powerful way to focus your energy in one direction with a tremendous result. Well, what do you mean? EQ is so critical to success that it accounts for 58% of performance in all types of jobs, both in the faith community and the
Did you
business
say
community.
58?
58%.
Wow.
Our studies worldwide have showed us, even in different cultures, that 58% of performance
Hmm.
success accounts for. This EQ is a game changer. Why? Because you get, it's so simple, but you ready? But it's so difficult. If you're a human, you might as well get really good at becoming an expert human since you is one. And you might as well learn, why do I think and feel and say things or don't? And How come other people react that way or don't speak or say something? What are he or she or they? You don't assign motive. You cannot
Mm,
read minds, but you
mm.
become insightfully, intentionally aware of
Bobby,
how
can you tell us a
emotions
little bit more about not assigning motives? Because, I mean, as a human, it seems to be like we need to work hard to learn not to assign motives when we are listening to people. How do we even do that if we have to grow in EQ?
Yeah, Susan, it's really difficult because, especially for people you've known a long time as friends or family or someone you've worked with, you tend to develop patterns and styles of relating and you bump into each other. Sometimes we're porcupine people. We prick each other and prickle each other. We bump in and it hurts. And oftentimes we don't finish conversations with humans when we feel hurt, offended, or wounded. We pretend or we don't know what to say sincerely and we shelf it. And then we go
Mm,
on working together, believing together, being family together, a friend together, but we never did the relational emotional mopping up. So there
mm,
are relational spills around you, and wherever there are spills not mopped up, you slip. You can't have your footing. So your emotional relational relationships are slippery and
mm,
they can't be leveraged. So what
mm,
happens is we have to realize, wait a minute. I can't assign motive. Oh no, I know what Susan's going to say. I've known her for years. Believe me. No, slow way down. You have experience of many conversations or situations with Susan, but today, Sunday, June 26th, you have not had a conversation with her about this in her
yes,
current level of
yes,
growth.
yes.
In her current level of growth, in this moment in history, she deserves the right, and you deserve the right to listen as if it's the first time because you can't read minds. You can try to, but you will fail if you're honest.
Wow.
And you cannot assign motive. What do? Become a master question asker. Can I
Wow.
ask you, what are you thinking? Can I ask you something? I'm struggling with something that you said, Joe. Can I ask you a question? What did you mean when you said that? Or what was the
Mm.
purpose of you asking that?
Wow.
Because
So it's like coming to everybody with a clean slate every time because we don't know where they are at this moment.
that's right.
And we have to, it is their right. It is their right for us to
That's right.
listen to them in the moment. And Bobby, we are still waiting for the four skills of
I know. Here
EQ.
they come. I had to set a little bit of context for you because these discoveries of emotional intelligence are, oh my goodness, have been around. Is EQ a new concept? No, it's been around a while, but people have not been able to harness its power.
Hmm.
Why? In society, we continue to focus most of our self improvement energy in the pursuit of knowledge, experience, intelligence, and education. The American institution, although I have a lot of friends and colleagues in that field, they're not teaching EQ in first grade, second grade, 12th grade. No, no, no. Matter of fact, you get in school suspension if you talk too much and get off task. You're talking too much. That's the beginning of potential EQ brilliance, connecting with humans and influencing the outcome. But they don't recognize it because some of us cannot impart what we do not have. You can't
Wow.
impart EQ if you don't have it. So you see it as a threat. And what we don't understand, we get more controlling about and less available to learn about.
You know, you just touched an area that is my area. I am a teacher. Actually, currently I teach middle school. And
Oh,
yes, you talked about being off task and talking too much because sometimes, we as teachers, we want you to listen. We want you to be quiet. It's about us and our lesson because we've worked hard for this lesson. So just sit quiet and listen to us. So you're saying that we have to look at it from another whole perspective of maybe it's that child's beginnings of developing their EQ awareness. And because we as teachers, we are not aware of that, we try to shut them down instead. Is that what you're trying to say? Did I get you right?
yeah. You sure did. And I have friends and colleagues I respect deeply in the education field. I'm in the educational field as well, to a degree, as a leader and speaker and EQ trainer and leadership trainer and life coach. And, here's the thing. We don't know how to recognize it and harness it. So getting to the understanding, because this is just introduction.
Yes.
I have so many courses on EQ. I walk my clients and counselees through so many I use for my conferences and seminars and webinars. This is simply an overview, a very brief.
And that's why we have the big announcement. If you're listening to us and you want that big announcement, put your yes in the chat and we'll follow up with you on the big announcement. Okay. Go ahead, Bobby.
So EQ, Bobby, EQ is not soft skills. No, it's not. EQ is not aptitude. It's not achievement. EQ
is it personality assessment? Is it personality assessment?
It's not. And I love personality assessments for your personality. But it's the what of who you are, not the why of what you do. Personality is great, but it doesn't answer the why behind the what.
Wow.
EQ is inside out growth. In order to grow to full capacity, and if you're in the faith community, into your full redemptive potential, you need to know your identity, you need to know who created you, and you need to understand who you are and who you are not. And as a human growing, you have to realize something. You have to be bigger on the inside than you are on the outside.
Right.
Otherwise, you will implode. If your professional life outpaces your personal life, you're a tragedy waiting to happen. Especially if you get more successful, more powerful, and your dreams come true. This is why you see people dropping like flies in different industries who make it big and get their dreams and their money and their fame and their fortune. They don't have the emotional, relational infrastructure where their feet are firmly planted on the ground, and they have an emotional intelligence that's a structural infrastructure that can hold any amount of power or growth or success. So you implode. So there's 4 keys. The 4 keys. Well, Bobby, what do you mean the 4 keys? Susan asked a minute ago. I know, I'm trying to give you a little bit more so I can create context for you. Here are the 4 keys. Self-awareness. This is personal competence. Self-awareness, self-management. Self-awareness is what I see about me. Self-management is what I do about what I see. Number 3 is, this is social competence. The first 2 were personal competence. Personal competence, what I see, what I do. Self-awareness, self-management. Yes. Then we have social competence, which is social awareness and relationship management. What I see socially about all the humans around me, and what do I do called relationship management. So if we broke these 4 down, my self-awareness. Now, some people in the faith community get all nervous about this because you're talking about yourself. Well, call it Christ awareness of yourself. Label it as you will, but here's what I know. Whatever faith you are or are not, as a human, you do things for reasons you may not be aware of. That's called awareness. Call it self-awareness, call it, hey, I'm aware of something, or whatever you want to label it as. But if you aren't not aware of why you do what you do when you do it, that's morbid self-introspection. Doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. It's wisdom and insight and discernment. It's slowing down and becoming more healthy, emotionally, mentally healthy human and going, why do I do that? If you're a person of faith, make it a prayer. God, why do I do that? How come I didn't speak up, Lord? If you're not a person of faith, you're a human. You have great value. I honor you. We're just humans. We're stumbling, struggling around. We don't know everything. Here's the thing. EQ can help you experience your next step of growth and success personally and professionally and change your world. Wow. What I see, self-managed, self-awareness. I'm aware of so much. So be prepared when you start doing this. And I know you listeners will, because you're hungry for everything you were designed to be and you desire to be. So when you start this journey at the next level, don't be surprised if you go, oh my goodness, Bobby, I have so many motives. Someone walked in The opposite, I said, man, you look like $1 million. You're amazing. And I realized I was self-aware. I said that because I want to set him up to take me out for lunch later. Oh, I'm terrible. You're going to start seeing some things, good, bad, and indifferent, about your self-awareness. That's okay. Be nice to yourself. You're growing and learning. Becoming more aware is the step of you being set free from being blind about your
Bobby,
self-awareness.
how can I practically develop my self-awareness? How
I'm
can
going to
we
show you
do
some
that
of those.
as leaders? How can we practically develop that self-awareness? We are
I'm going
still
to show
looking at
you,
the
show you
first
that.
key of self-awareness. How can we practically
Yes.
develop that relationally, professionally? How can we do that?
Good questions. So self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management. Bobby, how do I become self-management is becoming aware of all the things. How do I deal with and address all the things now I'm self-aware about? That's self-management.
Mhm.
So you get to learn, what if I have a high self-awareness, low self-management? When Susan introduces to you this great opportunity, we'll talk about it. Social awareness. What's everybody doing? We don't assign motive and read minds, but I'm socially aware of what's going on in the room right now. But how do I relationally manage what I'm socially aware of? That's social competence, social
Mhm.
awareness, relationship management. Now, to name a few of the strategies to how do you grow in self-awareness, realizing and understanding one's emotions and how they affect myself and others. Bobby, how do I grow? Here's just a few simple things so that you can have something to take away today. They're so simple. You might go, what? I know. Friends, to put the cookies of life on the bottom shelf is simply doing them and not be satisfied with just knowing about them. Knowledge without application is a hindrance to your growth.
Hmm.
Wisdom is the application of knowing and knowledge. What you know but don't do ends up a storehouse of information with no transformation.
Hmm.
So it's not what you know. Are you doing what you know? So self awareness, you get to ask yourself a question today, or you can pray to God and say, how do I feel right now in this moment? Someone just walked in the room and said something to me, and I feel really weird. I feel sad. Feel it, lean into it. Maybe you don't label your feelings as good or bad. These are self awareness strategies. Many of us feel feelings. We go, gosh, I feel terrible. Why did I think that? How come I feel this way? No, don't label your feelings as good or bad. They just are. Hey, you're feeling. You're not flatlining, right? You know what flatlining is? Going into the ICU and Uncle Buck is laying in the bed with a bunch of tubes going through him, and all of a sudden you hear, that's flatlining. You don't want to hear that. That means you're emotionally dead while you live. You're not feeling anything. You don't know.
And
Someone
because
asks
it's
you,
part of
hey, I heard
it's part
you
of
won the
being
lottery.
human. It's part
Yeah,
of being human. So
feeling
we
emotion.
feel.
Yeah, you don't have to say they're good or bad. Some of us
Wow.
win the lottery or your house caught on fire, you looked and sound the same. There's no emotion. Heard you won the lottery. Yeah, it's amazing. Heard your house caught on fire. Yeah, it's terrible. There's no emotion. It doesn't fit the story. You don't have to be sick to need a next step of growth in emotional mental health, friends. It's not true. If you need
Hmm.
emotional mental health, you're sick. Not true.
Let me ask you this question. Is EQ a part of how the brain works?
It is a part of how the brain works. So I gave you a few strategies. There's more. Keep a journal. Keep an emotions journal. Just write down how you feel when something happens during your day. Just write it down. I felt weird when John walked in the room and said hi to me at the office. When my wife walked in, I got nervous. I didn't realize that. My self-awareness is working. Write it down. Keep a journal. Pay close attention to your behaviors. These are just a few of self-awareness strategies. And I got self-management strategies. I got social awareness strategies for you. I've got relationship management strategies. But Susan asked a very important question, and one being, Bobby, what about you know, gosh, is the brain part of this whole thing? Now, Susan, you asked a $1 million question here, so I'll try to answer it in very summary tag down. Boy, Susan's not void of insightful questions, I tell you that. So here's the thing. Into the daily challenge of dealing effectively with emotions is critical to the human condition because our brains are hardwired to give emotions the upper hand. The communication between your emotional and rational brains is the physical source of emotional intelligence. Now, stay with me, friends. I don't want to get you lost, but I want you to know emotional intelligence is not personality, gregariousness, flamboyant, ability to go, hey, what's up? Atta girl, atta boy. That's part of it, but it's not EQ. It's a beautiful personality and people skills. EQ is not fluff. EQ, everything you see, smell, hear, taste, and touch travels through your body in the form of electric signals. These signals pass from cell to cell until they reach their ultimate destination, your brain. They enter your brain at the base near the spinal cord, but must travel to your frontal lobe behind your forehead before reaching the place where rational, logical thinking takes place. Here's the trouble. The trouble is they pass through our limbic system along the way, the place where emotions are produced. This journey ensures you experience things emotionally before your reason can kick into gear.
Yes.
So the rational area of your brain and the front of your brain can't stop the emotion felt by your limbic system, but the two areas do influence each other, maintain constant communication. EQ requires effective communication between the rational and emotional centers of the brain. I'll summarize here because I know this is new information, not because you're not intelligent as listeners, but it's a lot to take in. So I'll try to summarize. There's much more, but I'll summarize. When EQ was first discovered, it served as the missing link to a particular finding. People with the highest levels of intelligence, IQ, sometimes are scoring the lowest in EQ. I've had literally clients who are scientists, 2, 3 doctoral degrees going, I don't get EQ. I'm emotionally, relationally awkward. I can't wait. What? That's okay. I'll walk you through. You can have so many degrees, they call you Dr. Fahrenheit. It doesn't matter. Can you connect with yourself emotionally, relationally, with other humans at full capacity? There's a successful human. There's a successful human.
Wow.
There's a successful human. So the amygdala, Bob, you're going to give us a big word here. Oh, I know. EQ, fluff, soft skills. You're going, Bobby, this is the thing. I know. In my early life and leadership, I was a train wreck in EQ, and I hurt people. I just didn't know what I didn't know. And I guess what I found out about hurting someone as a leader, it doesn't matter if it was on purpose or on accident. They still hurt. And they don't like it. The amygdala is an almond-shaped structure in the brain. Its name comes from the Greek word for almond. As with most other brain structures, you actually have 2 amygdalae. Each amygdala is located close to the hippocampus in the frontal portion of the temporal lobe. Body. So the amygdala are essential to your ability to feel certain emotions and to perceive them in other people.
Wow.
So it includes fear and the many changes that it causes in the body. So if a suspicious looking individual is following you at night and your heart's pounding, chances are that your amygdalae are very active. And I believe that the man of faith, God created those for us. So with my friends and family of faith, when I hear them say, no fears from God, perfect love casts out all fear, I'm thinking negative, destructive fear, but not all fear. God gave it amygdalae to make sure you look both ways before you cross the street and feel fear.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is so good. If you're listening to us, Remember, Bobby is just giving us the introduction into EQ. If you want the big announcement, I'd like for you to put yes in the chat. Put yes in the chat. Yes in the chat. I know people are going to watch this after now. Listen to the podcast. Just put yes in the comments and we'll reach out to you with the big announcement. This is just an introduction. Put yes in the chat, in the comments, and we'll reach out to you with the big announcements. I know you've been listening. If this is new to you, you have questions maybe, or maybe you're just processing like all of this, or you want Bobby to repeat something that you heard but didn't quite understand. We will be right back to take your questions.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives, one leader at a time.
Ooh. Okay. Bobby, is it possible for me to be an emotionally intelligent leader, and yet I am not aware of it? Is it possible?
Well, I think that's a good question. Here's what I want to make sure I clear up and make really clear. Everybody has emotional intelligence. Every organization, business, or church carries some EQ in the organization structure. However, what I'm finding over the years, many of us have a next step of growth. That's all. You're not a bad person. We're not a bad organization. We're just unintentionally not able to leverage because we can't label things. We don't understand what EQ is. So we're hurting one another and the organization without knowing it. People experience the hurt of the organization and the personal hurt. Higher level of EQ, you know what to do with it. You know the tools and the skills to recognize it at intentionality levels, which brings freedom and breakthrough in relationships and in organization movement, growth, and health. That's why many organizations are what? They're more smart than they are healthy. And when you have smart organizations trumping the health of an organization, that is a trajectory of an organization dying. Why? Unhealthy people in an unhealthy structure and organization will take it down. So what do? You have to grow your people. You have to grow the people. That if the leaders don't grow, the people in the organization don't grow. Here's the leader. We'll call the leader an underwater basket weaving organization. Here's the leader. I walk in there. The leader says, you come highly recommended. Talk to me. You talk to me. You said, what's this EQ thing? He or she says, oh, I haven't had, is that soft skills? Or we don't do that here. We just trust in the Lord and the Bible and prayer. We don't do EQ. That's psychobabble. Whatever it is, many of us don't know that it's actually a thing and it's not bad or evil or something to be.
It's just a thing. It's either you know how to use it,
you know what?
Or you don't.
You brush your teeth. Did you know there's gums, there's cavities, there's that? Oh, I don't want to know about all that. That's it. No, it's just things you don't know. All you know about is a toothbrush and some toothpaste. I promise you, God might want you to know more. It's not right. Something evil. Or your business. We don't have time for that. How are we gonna? I've been here 15 years. We're crushing it. We're number 2 in our industry. We don't need this stuff. Well, you've judged success by what you've done and where you are, instead of where you still could be and what you still could do. You've hit
Bobby, tell us about EQ and team building.
The key with team building, and I was just getting ready to finish answering your first question, but the EQ team building, you got to grow your people. You got to grow your people, and people have to have a sense of safety in the culture. Culture eats vision for lunch. Culture is the way we live and work together, how we feel about each other, and how the organization allows me to feel and be human while I'm putting in my time and working. So if people don't feel safe, it's going to affect and infect morale, motivation, and momentum. And then they're going to call people like me, leaders and organization guys and EQ guys, and say, can you help me motivate my people? Can you help me with organizational health and growth? Sure. But I got to start with you, Miss or Mr. CEO. Why? Because your EQ lid is low and your leadership, and it's affecting your leadership lid that's low.
Right.
You're the ceiling. So your team building is only going to go so far. Why? Because people do what you do, not what you say. If you want to know the temperature of your team, leader, owner, CEO, pastor, you got to start by putting the thermometer in your mouth. And then you can go, oh my goodness, Bobby, what do I do? You just need an intentional, personal, professional development program. You need a coach. One's too small.
Wow.
Than none.
Definitely.
Oh, okay. So my people and my organization keep bumping into me, the law of the lid. Bobby, what do I do? I'm going to raise your leadership and EQ lid. Now your people and your organization can grow.
Beautiful. So beautiful. So what are some of the aspects that could actually affect or hinder the leader's EQ growth? What are some of those aspects that can actually hinder the leader's growth as far as EQ?
Well, if you're in the faith community, as I am as well, and the business community, I actually serve both. I serve humans. And as someone who's very familiar with church planning and lead pastoring, one of the things is in the faith community is we just don't think it's from God, or we go to extremes. Can't live by your emotions. You got to live by truth. Of course, it's both and, not either or. Don't live by them and don't suppress them and not be in touch with them. Both are godly and spiritual, led by God. In the business community where someone says, yeah, I'm not into all that faith stuff. That's hocus pocus religious stuff. I get you. No worries. It won't offend me. Here's the thing. You got to be open, available, and teachable. You have to
Open,
believe.
available, and teachable.
You got to be open and available and teachable. Readers are leaders. So you got to say, what is it I don't know yet? And there's got to be another way. Or what is this EQ thing taking storm? I know. 10 years ago, I was saying in 10 years, there won't be a conference, a webinar, a seminar without EQ at the forefront. Right now, it's what is that? Isn't that soft skills? I don't even know what that is. Isn't that psychobabble? And now it's up front and center. People calling, going, I've been hearing this EQ thing is important. Can you help me? Can you teach me? My marriage hurts because of EQ. Well, I know people don't leave marriages, they leave people. People don't leave bad companies, they leave bad managers. People don't leave organizations, they leave people. People don't even leave churches, they leave people. How many churches, however, split because of Bible doctrine? Not many, guarantee you. It's relational issues, emotional fights and quarrels that people can't handle, don't have the tools and the skills. Bobby, that's the faith community. They're supposed to be the champions of all that. I know.
And this brings me to this question, Bobby. As a leader that's emotionally intelligent and developed in EQ, how would you manage stressful situations of maybe clashes and conflicts, maybe in your organization and maybe in your family with your spouse or just maybe children? How would you handle that?
How do you handle stress in the context of family?
Family, business, relationships in general?
That's a great question. I have 5 assessments that are transforming lives and marriages and companies and people and churches, and understanding the EQI 2.0, which is, we'll talk about that later. There's 5 composites and 15 subsets. One of the composites is stress management. When all of us have stressful situations, and guess what? Not all stress is bad or wrong. Some stress is really good, and it's not because something bad happened. If you won the lottery and got $40 million today, your life would be filled with stress that you never heard of. If you got $1 million or $2 million today handed to you, your life would have new stress that you've never bumped into before. Not all stress is bad, but knowing how to manage it, how to understand stress emotionally, mentally, spiritually, to come to that table, a whole developed person in Christ or in healthiness, and go, gosh, I wonder how my flexibility is, my stress tolerance, my optimism. Why? Because those are 3 things that comprise the feeling of stress.
Right.
When you learn EQ, You learn how to zero in, like laser light focus. Oh, and then instead of just going, I'm stressed, I'm tapped, I'm wired, I'm done, I'm overwhelmed, I just need to disconnect, man. That's when we go into the too much syndrome. Too much of anything good can become bad because we need to exercise. We're all professional anesthesiologists to some degree. When it gets too bad, when in doubt, numb your way out. So, hey, we all got it. I got my numbing agents. Everybody's got theirs. But as you grow in Christ and you grow emotionally healthy in EQ, you don't turn to those. Those are not healthy tools. They're not healthy ways to handle stress. So with family and kids, you get to learn, where are the kids at? So you become a master question asker. So you ask flexibility questions. Some people deal with stress by getting anal and controlling. They lack flexibility. Some people deal with stress by not being tolerant. Doesn't matter. I got my way or the highway. Here's how we're going to do it. I'm the one in charge. Like it or leave it. Get in or get out. Ooh. Some people deal with stress by losing optimism. Oh my gosh, it'll never change. We always do this. We always come back to this. We're never going to grow. We'll never get out of this. We're always going to be this way. Gosh, you always do that in our marriage. You always do that, son. You lose optimism. Look at 3 different ways I've described to deal with a thing called stress. EQ is the skill of knowing that's alive and that's real and on the table in every stressful situation. Now imagine leading a team or a department and having this skill. Jill deals with stress through flexibility issues. Tom and Jane and Sally deal with it with no tolerance. And we got 14 of my team who have zero optimism. They're just, we're doomed. We'll never make it, people. Knowing how to lead that emotional, relational climate, emotionally intelligent leader.
Wow. If you're listening, you're watching, listen. We always like for you to have your action point because we want to take you here at the Leaders World. Our aim is one leader at a time, changing lives. So what is your action point after this broadcast, after this show? What is your action point? What are you going to be working on? What is that next step for you? All right. And you can reach out to us at Leaders World Institute. And definitely we are going to put Bobby's website in the comments, and you can also reach out. And we have the big announcement. You want to put yes in the chat to let us know that you're ready for the big announcement. We are going to reach out to you and follow up with the big announcement because we know that this is just the introduction. And for many of us, this might be the first time we are getting to know this. So we want to delve more into it with you. Let us know your interest by just putting yes in the comments, and we'll reach out to you with the big announcement. Bobby, I know I have asked this question before, but I want to ask it in another way. What are some of the causes of low EQ in a leader?
Well, that's a great question. I've seen so many different symptoms and signs of low emotional intelligence. One of them is shame and blame issues. We feel bad about something that we did professionally or personally. We don't know how to recover from it. We don't know how to process it. We don't know how to get healing and move on. Some of it is just lack of awareness. Some of it is lack of availability to change and grow. We get used to something comfortable. And when it works, we turn it into a tradition and we don't want to leave it.
Oh, wait.
We think the habit we formed and the new tradition is the road to success. Just keep repeating it. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. Today's success and how you got there, congratulations, won't work tomorrow. Everything and everyone changed.
Say that again.
Today's success, personally or professionally, and congratulations, how you did it, the strategies, the structure, the thinking, the time, the planning, the team building. Congratulations. Now for your company, the next step of growth, you got to go back to the drawing table again. You got to
Right.
brainstorm again. Why? Last once success strategies. You might be able to take a couple that's transferable, but in totality, it won't work for tomorrow's success. Why?
Mm.
Everybody's changed. Hey, leader. Hey, mom. Hey, dad with kids. Hey, husband and wife. Hey, boyfriend, girlfriend. Hey, pastor. If your people aren't growing and you're not growing, my goodness, if you're in the faith community and you're not growing, you're an organism. You know what a fossil is? An organism that refused to grow. So something's up there. If you're in the business community and your people aren't growing, by and large, leader, owner, CEO, executive teams, C-suite team,
Mm.
you gotta look in the mirror. Oh, I know you're rich. I know you have a private plane. And I respect you and I honor you. You know that. You know that about me. But I want you to know your emotional intelligence can still be low. You're taking people hostage and wounding them while you soar in your private plane.
Mm.
And people are your greatest appreciable asset.
Yes.
That's why your recruitment and retention is hurting. After a while, they love the money you pay, but they don't like you. They're out.
Now,
They'll get paid less and go somewhere else.
Let me ask you this question because we are going down to the last 5 minutes or 6 minutes. Hey, if you have a question, this is your time to ask that question because I have many questions and I would take your question if you ask the question. I'm going to make it about you. You see, I'm going to be be practicing what I'm learning to make it about you and take your questions. But listen, the question I'm asking you right now is, Bobby, on your journey of emotional intelligence, what has been the most difficult things for you to do?
Personally, there's an answer, and professionally.
Yes, and those we want to know professionally and personally.
Well, I never asked you to do something I'm not willing to do. So let me put emotional intelligence on display with authenticity.
Okay.
The biggest issue for me personally was learning to forgive myself for mistakes that I made with people and organizations that I really cared for and loved that I wounded because I was in low EQ mode, but I was the one in charge. The more successful you get, the less people ask questions, doubt you, challenge you. Yes, sir. You lose perspective. Never believe your own press reports. Be careful. Don't ponder in private what people tell you in public. You might believe them. You're not that good. And you want to be careful not to become an EQ train wreck, detached from the people emotionally and relationally while you're succeeding at the same time. At one point in my life, I was a successful failure, succeeding professionally, failing personally at the same time. Low EQ. Professionally, the most difficult thing I bump into every once in a while is an owner or a C-suite leader who go, this is soft skills. This is baby fluff. Atta girl, atta one. Hey, you have a good job. I'm smiling. Now get to work. They think that's lowering themselves. I don't do buddy. I do boss. I hold the gun. 1,000 people don't eat if I don't sign their checks. That's not EQ, ma'am, sir. You got their loyalty 9 to 5. That's it. And they get their paycheck. They're not passion employees where you could have their loyalty 24/7, 365, ready to attack for you at a phone call because they
But
believe
if
you.
we have somebody that's listening to us now and they say, well, if they can work for me and I hit my bottom line and get what I want, I think I'm fine with that. I don't really care about this whole EQ thing.
Yeah.
Do you have a word for them?
Well, I respect you. Thank you for thinking. That tells me you're thinking and pondering because you're asking the right question. Here's what you'll find out. You can build a monument to yourself and get successful and make money, but you'll never build a movement that takes into account changing the world one human, one leader at a time, which is the impact of a real leader. Long after we've gone to your funeral, now let me see the impact of the people you impacted. Let me see it in their children. Let me see your leadership change into another generation. Now we'll talk about the impact of your leadership. Anybody can impact their generation. Great leaders with high intelligence, emotionally, leadership, emotional, organizational health and growth. Those leaders impact moms and dads, kids. There's your leader. For a person of faith, God's called you to build a movement, not a monument. He's the organizational ontologist. The whole universe lives in his presence. He's the guy who owns it all and came down as buddy and friend and said, I got you. He holds the model. Living to give your life away is an emotionally intelligent leader. Hey, leader, it's not about you hitting home runs. How many home runs are your people hitting? Because you're investing in them. You're pouring in them. So it's a tough sell sometimes for the faith community because they believe feelings and emotions are not a discipleship issue, or they're worried people will turn to feelings and emotions and rely on them. Low EQ doesn't do that. People who turn to emotions and believe them and rely on them are low EQ people. It's not emotions and feelings that were the problem. It's the inability to know you don't live by them, but you don't suppress them and deny them either. They're not ungodly or godly. They just are. And you, by the Holy Spirit, leverage them. So I'm speaking to, if I may, the faith community and the business community. Why? Because at Legacy Leadership and Coaching, that's what we do.
Awesome. So we are at the top of the hour, and this is the Leaders World, brought to you by Leaders World Institute, and we bring top-notch leadership content to take your life, your business, your coaching, your mentoring one step forward. What is your action point for today? You have to have it. What is your action point for today? And today we've been talking the emotionally intelligent leader, and we have Bobby Allen with us. Hey, and we have another big announcement. Bobby and Leaders World Institute, if you put yes in the chat, we'll follow up with you with further information and see just how better we could serve you. All right, Bobby, this is not one of my favorite moments in the show because I need to let you go. But the question I have for you is, people are watching. They've come here to listen to your wisdom. What would you tell them in a nutshell as you close?
You've gotten this far. You woke up another day. You're doing amazing. Be kind to yourself. Be forgiving. And you're not stuck. You actually can change. Stuck stinks. I know there are people who tell you, he'll never change, she'll never change. People don't change. I'm in the change business. It's not true. But you got to show up, available, teachable, humble. You can change. You're not stuck. Bobby, you don't know the situation I'm in. I know it's hurtful and sad. It feels like it's choking you, the marriage, the relationship, the financial struggle. Things can change. People can change. Emotional intelligence is a breakthrough to equip you to deal with the change. Change is inevitable. Growth is an option.
And ladies and gentlemen, that would be it for today. The emotionally intelligent leader at the Leaders World with the Leaders World Institute. Put yes in the chat, put yes in the comments. I will reach out to you with further information on how we can serve you to help you delve deeper into this concept so you can take your life, your family, your business, your mentoring, your coaching one step forward. It's been great having you, and we'll see you next time.
For your corporate and personal needs.
Leaders World Institute, changing lives, one leader at a time.